The first topic area in the Illness Management and Recovery program is recovery strategies.
Well, Francis, it's nice to see you this morning.
Thank you. Nice seeing you.
What we're going to be talking about today, and we're going to also follow it up in some of the weeks to come, is the topic of recovery and recovery strategies. And what we're going to begin talking about is what is recovery from psychiatric illness. And we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about different definitions that people have for recovery. Because one of the things about recovery is that each person defines it in a different way. And one of our goals will be to help you come up with a definition of recovery that means something to you and that's important for you. Another thing that we're going to be talking about is goals. And setting goals and figuring out what are important goals to pursue. For most people, that's part of the recovery process. And of course, helping you work towards personal goals is part of what this program is all about. This program in illness management and recovery. So what we're also going to be spending time doing is helping you come up with some goals and then beginning to identify strategies to help you make progress towards those goals. So you have any questions about what we're going to be working on today and in the next few sessions?
No, I don't.
All right, great. What I'm going to do is to give you this handout, and you don't have to follow it in the session here, but what you might find is it may be helpful to look up certain things later on, and also to share it with some other people in your life. And we can talk about ways of doing that a little bit later on in the session. All right. Well, why don't we start to begin with and to talk a little bit about the idea of what is recovery. What we found is that when people have a mental illness, each person defines the idea of recovery in a different way from somebody else. And that there is no one definition of recovery. And that we think it's helpful to find out how different people think about recovery in helping a person come up with their own definition. Sometimes people have thought about recovery the way they might think of recovery from a flu or something like that. And most people think of recovery from mental illness as being a little bit different than recovery from a flu. Let me give you one definition about how one person defined recovery for himself. And he said, recovery for me is having good relationships and feeling connected. It's like being able to enjoy my life. And let me give you another example, because we have a few different examples here. One person said, I don't dwell on the past. I'm focusing on my future. And let me give one more example. Being more independent is an important part of my recovery process. So you can see how each person in those examples defines recovery in a way that means something for that individual. What does recovery mean to you, Francis?
Getting well, getting sort and look for jobs and stuff like that. Watching.
Well, those are a lot of things. So one part of it was getting well. And when you talk about getting well, could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, it seems like I'm depressed a lot. Because it's hard for me to do things. And
right.
And yes, it is hard to do things.
Okay. So one part of recovery for you is not feeling the same experience of depression and the problems associated with that. So one kind of recovery strategy that we could work on developing during this program might be some more effective ways of dealing with depression. Either making the depression go away or decreasing it, or maybe helping you so that the depression didn't interfere as much with your life. Okay, so that's a really good example of what recovery means for you in terms of not having some of the symptoms of depression. And then another part that you mentioned about recovery involved getting back to work. Have you been working lately?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I'm looking for a job.
You're looking for a job?
Yeah.
Are you getting any help with that?
Yes, there's someone here helps people find jobs.
Okay. And you're working with a person to do that?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's very helpful for me to understand, because I now can see that part of recovery, as you talked earlier, is not having the same problems with depression. But part of it is also pursuing work. What does work mean for you?
Getting out and doing things and meeting people and stuff.
Okay. So for you, work means getting out of your home and being able to do something, something that you can look forward to doing.
Yeah.
And kind of getting out of your home in terms of being able to meet people.
Yeah.
That's another important part of work for
Yeah.
you. Let me just read you one or two other examples of what recovery means to people, and just to get your thoughts about that. One person wrote, "Recovery for me is a series of steps. Sometimes the steps are small, like fixing lunch, taking a walk, following my daily routine. Small steps add up." Any thoughts about that definition?
Well, for me, some days I have a hard time getting up out of bed. And sometimes I have a hard time getting up and finding something to eat.
Right. And are those days when you're feeling more depressed?
You know, more depressed, and arthritis took up on me once in a while. And I had to do things.
Right. So that can be a little bit tough when your mood isn't right, and then also when you're feeling physical pain. That it can be hard to get out of bed. So sometimes what people find helpful in terms of pursuing recovery goals, the kind of goals that you've talked about in terms of depression and getting back to work, is setting very small goals on the way to achieving those bigger goals, those kind of small steps that add up. So it sounds like trying to work together to figure out ways of helping you make those small steps would really mean something to you.
Yeah.
Great. Before we move on, are there any other questions that you have about how recovery is defined and what it means to you?
Can't seem to think of anything.
Great. Well, I really appreciate your sharing that with me, because it helps me understand where you're coming from, and also it helps me understand what are some of the kind of changes that we can work with together in this program. Great. Well, let me move ahead here. And what I'd like to do is to follow up a little bit more about some of the things that we've talked about. And you talked a little bit about goals, and I'd like to get into that into even a little bit more detail. And the reason is this. Most people, when they think about recovery, think about changes that they would like to make in their lives. And you've already begun to do some of that thinking. When you talked about what recovery means to you, you came up with some really important things. Some of them including dealing with depression, pursuing work, and you mentioned a few other things too. And what I'd like to do is to follow up on those and to bring up some topic areas that sometimes people think about when they set goals, and to begin the process of identifying some specific goals or changes that you could work towards and that we could work together towards helping you accomplish during our work together. So one question has to do with the kind of friendships that people have. What kind of friendships do you have?
I don't have no friends.
Okay, and how do you feel about that?
I ain't very happy about it, but I can't buy friends. So.
Right. So, you know, one way that you're not going to change that is by buying them.
Yeah, that's right.
But it sounds like you're not happy with it from what you've just said, and that trying to get people in your life would be a good way of being able to enjoy life more. What kind of things do you think you might do if you had more people in your life?
I don't know.
So would one of the things that we could work on, would one of those things be coming up with activities that you could do with friends?
Yeah.
Okay. You said you don't have friends in your life, but do you have family members who you spend time with?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't have no family.
All right. So you end up spending a fair amount of time alone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All the time.
All right. Well, that's a very important area to work on. And just so that you know, a lot of people who have had some of the experiences that you've had have similar goals in terms of trying to get more people into their lives.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that I've worked with other people with in terms of increasing the contacts that they have with other people, helping them be able to get closer to people, to make contacts, to actually spend time with other people.
Yeah.
Those are really common goals that people have. So I think that that's something that we can really begin working on together.
Yeah.
Another thing that people often will set goals around is having more things to do with their spare time. What are the things you like to do with your spare time, Francis?
Well, if I'm able, I like to get out and walk. Try to lose my belly. And
so walking feels good. How often are you able to get out for a walk?
maybe a couple, 3 times a week.
Okay.
Sometimes a little bit more if I can.
Okay, 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes more. That's good. That's getting out there quite a bit. And how long do you go for?
Well, it all depends on how I feel.
Like a half an hour or maybe 10 or 15 minutes?
It's usually about half an hour to an hour and a half.
Okay, well, those are some pretty long walks, I'd say.
Sometimes sit down for 10 or 15 minutes too.
And I know today when you first came in, we talked about how you actually walked here. And that must have been a pretty good walk.
Yeah.
How long did that take you?
About 15, 20 minutes.
Okay. Is getting out for walks something you'd like to do more of?
Yeah.
You would like to get out even more?
Yeah.
Do you find that when you get out for a walk that it helps you in terms of your mood?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
What else do you like about getting out for walks?
Well, I feel better when I'm outside and stuff. When I was working full time, I used to work outside all the time,
Really?
year round. And in the wintertime, I enjoyed it because it was nice.
I like getting out in the winter too. I mean, the air is so brisk.
Yeah.
What kind of work were you doing?
I was working in a sawmill.
That sounds neat. Very interesting. Is that the kind of work that you would like to try to get again? I mean, work involving wood? And
I can't because it's too hard for me now.
okay. It is very physically strenuous, that kind of
yeah.
work.
Yeah. It is.
But it sounds like you do like being outside.
Yeah, I
And
do.
so when it comes to finding work, being able to look for jobs that provide some time outside might be something that would be enjoyable for you.
Yeah.
So going for walks is one thing that you like to do in your spare time, and it sounds like it's something that you'd like to do more of.
Yeah.
Are there other things that you'd like to do more of with your spare time?
I don't know.
Okay.
I can't see anything to nothing right now.
Would you like us to, in our work together in the next few weeks and months, to try to come up with some more things that you might do in your spare time?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm always open for some ideas.
Okay. Sometimes people, in terms of having things to do in their spare time, enjoy doing things like hobbies and sports. Are there hobbies and sports that you used to do?
Well, I used to hunt and fish, but now I don't do either one.
Right.
It's hard for me to walk through the woods, so I give that up.
Sometimes that happens when somebody develops difficulties or a psychiatric illness. Sometimes things that they used to enjoy kind of get lost. They stop doing
that's
those.
right,
Are some of those activities things that you might be interested in in resuming?
I don't think so.
Sounded like you were a little bit unsure, though.
Yeah. Sometimes I like to get back into it, but still, I don't know because I can't watch with the woods.
Right.
And deer, they don't come out to the road and meet me. So
that's true. How about fishing? Is fishing something that might be?
If I could find a boat.
Okay. Well, those are possible things that we could work towards. And often when I'm helping a person identify and get more things to do in their lives, finding out things that they used to enjoy, that can be a very good place to start. We can come up with more ideas also. But for example, strategizing together about how you could begin taking up fishing again, that might be something that we could work on as well.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, let me come up with another one. We talked a little bit about work that you have been interested in pursuing, and that you've been meeting with a person about that. Somebody who provides supported employment. Is it a supported employment program?
I don't know. Just the person that helps me find a job, she's doing all she can to help me.
And have you found that useful to meet with her?
Have in the past, yes.
Okay.
And I think I got a couple jobs, but I'm not sure yet. I'll have to go back and see them sometime this week.
Okay. Well, I think that is a supported employment program, because what they do is they provide support for people in finding jobs, doing things that they find interesting to do. And it sounds like you're really working very well with that person. If you'd like any of my help, or for us to talk about how that's going, we can do that when we're working together. But it does sound like you're really on your way to making some progress towards that goal. I want to ask about another area that people sometimes have goals in, and that has to do with your living situation. How do you feel about your living situation?
Well, it's okay.
Okay, it's okay. Are there ways that you would like it to be different?
I like to move in with somebody else.
Okay.
So I have company,
All right.
but I don't know who that would be.
Right. But that's a really good idea, and that's certainly another possible area in terms of a goal that we could work towards, which is being able to have more people in your life, but in terms of having a roommate or living closer to somebody that you could spend some time with. That's great. Well, you've really come up with a lot of different goals that are related to what recovery means to you. And just to spend a minute or two talking about what some of those were, to kind of review them with you. One of the things is that you really said that you would like to have more people in your life. And I want you to know that that's something that we're going to be definitely spending some time on in this program. In fact, one of the topics that we're going to be focusing on is improving social supports. And that's about how to get more people into your life and how to get closer to people. And so we're going to be coming back to that. But I'm going to make a note that that's a really important goal for you to have. A second goal that you identified was trying to think of more things or identifying more things that you can do with your spare time so that you can enjoy that time. And one goal that you mentioned, one part of that goal, would be getting out even more regularly for walks. It sounds like you get out 2 or 3 times a week and you enjoy that, but that you'd like to get out even more times. And then related to that, we could have the goal, we could work towards your goal of identifying other activities that you could do, either new activities or old things that you used to do but have stopped doing. And the one that comes to mind in terms of that is fishing. Of course, we can come up with other ones, but maybe what we could do would be to spend some time over the next few weeks thinking about what would it take for you to be able to go fishing again. Does that sound like another good goal?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. You talked about work, and that's a really important goal that you're already making some good progress towards.
Yeah.
So we might not work on it that much, you and I together,
Yeah.
but it may be something we can talk about, and I'll certainly be interested in following up and seeing how that's going for you. And then the last goal area that we talked about had to do with your living situation.
Yeah.
At least exploring the possibility of different living situations where you could have regular contact with people. So I think that those are some really excellent goals that we can work towards. And what I would like to do with you would be to kind of check up with you on a regular basis in terms of how those goals are going and to work together towards those goals. Now, something that I found really helpful when I work with people in terms of recovery and helping them manage their illness is coming up with assignments at the end of each meeting, coming up with some assignment that involves following up on something that we worked on together. And one of the things that I thought might be a possible assignment would be your goal of getting out and walking on a regular basis. Now, you said that you like to get out, or you said that you get out 2, maybe 3 times a week, but that you might like to get out more often than that.
Yeah.
How often would you like to get out?
I like to get out every day.
Every day?
At least every day, anyway.
Okay. Well, we're going to be meeting next Monday. Today is Monday. And ordinarily, you might have gotten out a couple of times. If you were to set a goal for a homework assignment for the next week, how many times would you like to say that you would get out for a walk between today and next Monday when we meet?
I'm not sure. It all depends on how I feel.
Okay. If you set a goal, then it's something you could shoot for. Of course, if you don't make it, that's okay. But then if you make it, well, that would be great. And it would be kind of working towards the goal of getting out every day. What if you had the goal of getting out, say, either 3 or 4 times over the next week? Would that be a goal that you'd like to work towards? Like for a kind of a homework assignment? What would be the goal if you had to pick a number? How many times would you like to try to get out over the next week?
At least 5, anyway.
5? Do you think you can do 5?
I don't know.
Well, how about, why don't we make it a little bit lower so that you think that you could really do it? Because I think what's important is that you program your own success so that you get out the number of times you really try to. Like how about if you said 3 times?
Okay.
Do you think you could do 3 times?
I'll try.
Okay. So why don't we make it so that your assignment over the next week, in terms of following up on the goal, is you're going to try to get out 3 times over the next week. And if you don't, that's okay. But if you do, that's great. And if you get out more than 3 times, I mean, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And what we can do is over the next few weeks, gradually increase the goal of your getting out to the point maybe where you're getting out 5, 6, even 7 times in a week. How does that sound to you, Francis?
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So the goal, how many times are you going to try to get out over the next?
At least 3 or 4.
All right. That sounds great to me. Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing how that goes for you. And what I'd like to do is to just to give you this to take back with you. You can check it out on your own if you want to, but you don't have to. And what we'll do is we'll meet next week at the same time.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do is, when we meet at the beginning of the meeting, is I'm going to first find out how your homework assignment went in terms of trying to get out at least 3 or 4 times in the week. Do you have any questions for me?
No.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for coming in. It was great to see you again.
Nice seeing you.